Welcome to Making and Baking. Today we're making Bolognese sauce. This is my husband's absolute favorite meal, and I'm pretty sure he would have it every single night of the week if given the opportunity. We've spent years trying to find the perfect recipe, and this one is definitely pretty close, so you have to give it a go and see what you think. We've got 500 grams of mince. You can use any mince that you want. We're using 250 grams of pork and 250 grams of beef mince. We've got roughly about the same 500 grams of vegetables. We're using a basic mirepoix, which is onion, celery, carrots. So it's a quarter of an onion we're using, 2 carrots, 2 celery stalks, and we're also adding in a zucchini because I really enjoy the flavor that adds. And we grind it into a paste in our, kitchen processor. We'll cook that first, and that's where the depth of flavor comes from in this dish. So if you're ever making a stew, a sauce, anything, what you really do want to do is cook that mirepoix or the vegetables first so that they release a lot of that juice and those flavors really get highlighted. We're going to be using 2 cups of beef broth, 3 tablespoons approximately of tomato paste. If you don't have the paste, you can use passata, just add a little extra because the moisture in it will cook off. We've got a whole can of diced tomatoes, so 400 grams, salt, pepper. The key and sort of secret ingredients that make this dish so good are actually the vinegars and the wine that goes into it. So we've got a cherry vinegar. You can use balsamic, that's not a problem. We just want that rich vinegar. We're gonna use 3 tablespoons, so it's not a lot, but it does add a depth. And we're using half a cup of wine. Now, if you don't want to use wine, you absolutely don't have to, or if you don't have it, that's fine. When I don't have wine, I use a quarter of a cup extra of the vinegar that I'm using. So for us, it's cherry vinegar, but you could use balsamic. Then I top up half a cup with, quarter cup of water. So you get that whole half cup of liquid. And I add 2 to 3 tablespoons of sugar because there's obviously that sweetness in the wine. We've got herbs and spices. We're using oregano, 2 teaspoons, a quarter or a little bit less of chili flakes, 1 garlic clove, and a bay leaf. We've got 2 small ones to make up for the 1 bay leaf. The extra that we've got here that's a little bit different, as well salt and pepper, is we've got the rind of a used up Parmesan cheese. That goes in at the very beginning, and because we're going to leave this to cook for quite some time, it'll really just melt in there, and it's a beautiful little addition if you've got it. Obviously not necessary, but it's a great addition if you have it. And we've got 1.5 cups of milk, which seems really strange until you actually try it, and it really adds a creamy depth to this dish that we love. Let's get started. We've got our pan heating up and our oil in the pan. You can use any neutral oil. We've got some rendered fat that we've used today. We're gonna add our vegetables because, as I said before, we want some of this liquid to cook off. And you'll actually see it thicken up over time. So we're gonna cook off some of that liquid, get some of those flavors really started, and get it going. Now you might think that mincing the veggies is unnecessary, and it is. But what we like about doing this is that it really highlights the beef and makes it a minced dish rather than a very strong veggie dish. It's great if you're not a big fan of veggies yourself, because it means you can hide as many or as little vegetables in this dish as you want. With the beef stock, it really adds the beef flavor to this dish as well. So you're not getting a whole lot of celery, a whole lot of onion, a whole lot of carrot or zucchini. It's perfect. The vegetables are pretty much cooked and the moisture has evaporated. I'm gonna add 1 clove of minced garlic, mix that into my vegetables, and then we add the meat and our mince. Now we've got beef and pork. You don't have to use pork, but that's where all the flavor comes from.
But you gotta have the pork.
That's the flavor.
We're gonna cook that off, make sure it's all brown, and then we'll mix in the vegetables. Always like to salt and pepper my beef when I put it in, or mince when I put it in. Alrighty. Now that that's mostly all brown, we're gonna mix all the vegetables in. Once it's all mixed in, pretty much all of our ingredients go in one after another. First up is our half a cup of wine. Perfect. It's almost like I measured it beforehand, but I didn't. I'm going to allow this to cook off just a little bit before I add in the next ingredient. In go our tomatoes, our beef broth, tomato paste or passata, 3 tablespoons of vinegar. Oh, 1. Give this a stir through. Do make sure that you choose a container or a pan that's big enough for all of your ingredients. Next in our spices. Alright, now that that's all stirred through, I'm going to add the rind of the Parmesan. Now, if you've never done it, try it. Because we're going to leave this for an hour now. It really gets those rind pieces really squishy. And when you're eating it, you get these little gooey bits of cheese, which is just delicious. This is all done. We're going to set it here and leave it on about medium heat. We just want it to bubble a little bit for about an hour. Check it periodically just to make sure it's not sticking too much to the bottom. A little bit of sticking is fine because that's where a lot of the flavor will come from. But yeah, we're going to set it aside for 1 hour to reduce, and then we'll come back. This has been on for an hour. I've come back and stirred through the sauce at least about 4, maybe 5 times. Once in the first 30 minutes and then 3 extra times in the last 20 minutes just to make sure it wasn't sticking too much on the bottom. And next we're going to add the milk. So this, you could eat it like this. Technically it's done. But it is really missing a creaminess that you'll notice. Once you start using the milk, you'll definitely notice when it's not in there. So this is going to pour in, and then we're going to watch it simmer away for about 30-40 minutes. Keep a closer eye on it this time because we're going to do it over medium heat. And if you're not careful, it really will reduce fast and it'll stick to the bottom. Our pasta sauce was cooking for an extra 40 minutes with the milk, and you can see it's really thickened up and evaporated, so it's beautiful and it's done. We've cooked some spaghetti, put a little bit of Parmesan on top, and we're ready for the final taste test. I love it. Parmesan adds a little bit more salt, but the sauce just by itself is beautiful, rich, beefy. I love it. I really do. I really hope you do try this. Add the milk at the end. You won't regret it.